Okay, let's make another armature type or gestural sculpt, wire sculpt type. So this was our twisted one. Last, let's just twist the torso and let our arms and legs. He says playing with like doing a little monkey type, um, or some other kind of proportioned character. But the main thing is when you're doing this, again, to have extra lengths available. And so we're going to twist the torso first, and then we're going to adjust the arms and legs after snip them, and that's way faster. I kind of I did a false start on my last video, so I was like, oh yeah, how was I doing that again? You just want to make sure you have enough lengths, and you can follow along, so you can kind of take the ends of the armature, go to the arm, the shoulder, bring it around to the torso, and that's your actual length you would need for the arms to be able to stand out there. So just remembering that before I get started. So I'll give myself an extra little oomph. So this one had shoulders a little bit too narrow and arms a little bit too short. So having that in mind, we'll come in here and I can grab, use my needle nose. Grab my needle nose, go across two, and hold this in place. Now, you can use your channel locks, right? So probably smarter to these will lock down nice and tight on there if you've adjusted it. And for the channel lock, you just have to twist this to tighten, make sure that you have the right amount. So I'll just eyeball that again, giving myself a little extra length. I'm okay snipping off, fractions of an inch. It's not gonna hurt anything. You can always melt this down. And for this one, if I go too tight, it'll bite into it a lot. So I'll do that twist. There we go. So now this is like so easy to handle. And now I can grab these and I can do my twist for the torso. And since I have a target and I have my measuring pad again on there, I can do this and keep going down. Nice and smooth, kind of equal pressure. I'm going to get it as even as possible. And there we go. See, that's pretty close. Okay, and this one I had a good Y, so this gives you a natural Y on there. So for that one, I'll go ahead and stop. Let go of the channel lock. Cool. And do the arms cross top. So this should split apart really nice and easy. And you want to like pressure there. So maybe once again, grab with the hand tool instead of with your fingers. And when you split those apart, you're going to get a nice strong 90-degree bend there. See how much if I did that with my fingers, that would have really it would have hurt first off, and I wouldn't have been able to get that bend so easy like that to get this really good teeth. And you see it's a little wobbly still, right? It's not perfect. It's like it's not getting super tight on there. We could grab this and pinch even more, grab this side, pinch it again, and do another twist all the way from both sides like that. You can see now when I get that little tightening motion, there's a lot less chance of it wiggling. It's not separated. So if you want it to not be wiggling to itself, you have to pinch both sides so it doesn't continue to wind up two sides of threads, and that'll truncate this spine and get a little bit tighter. And that's actually what I wanted. So that is a good thing to remember. Now we can go over here to the shoulders. So we can go each side of these, being very careful to keep my measurements in check. I have a little smaller pair here as well. So over here, pinch where I want it to stop, and then grab with the needle nose in front of that, or right behind it, and then bend down. Do the same thing, make sure my measurements are accurate. Here. Now you could have your little drawing on there as well. You could really kind of, behind and gently. I'm not trying to bite into the metal and bend down. And it looks pretty even already so far. And you can see already here, my shoulders are a little bit broader and the arms are quite a bit longer down the side, but I can trim them off, right? It's okay if it's longer, I'm in a way better position. I can trim it as opposed if I'm already short, there's not much you can do except for winding more wire and extending it more. And that can be, a lot of extra work. And if you just get to give yourself a little extra to play with the first time, then you'll be in better shape. So grab that right there, come across. Where the femur hits into the hip socket of the pelvis. Bend that down. Here we go. All right. So hips a little more narrow, shoulders a little bit wider. That designates the bone structure of a male. See if we have the heights roughly the same. So I want the feet coming down. So I want them to be the same height. Just go in and mark that. And I can go across here and then across the other side and up. There we go. And voila. And he's got skis. Ski feet, right? Okay. But that's way faster than the twist method. And you have a little bit more flexibility, but it is a little bit thicker wire to start with. But by the time you twine up the thinner wire, it's actually stronger than this wire. But this is still plenty strong enough for me to play around with. And the downside is when I did this, I don't have a head attached, right? So we'll look at attaching the head on there. Okay, so we're going to add the neck and head onto this character. So I give myself enough wire to go through the rib cage, and remember, always attach from the back of the spine, not the front of the spine, because the sternum, the front of the chest, that metal will almost always come through on your clay. And it's just better to have the spine. It's more accurate having the extra metal of the spine coming forward. The neck comes back behind the rib cage, and then the skull would come down the front right there. So grab our little, and I am using the thinner armature wire, so I usually recommend when you're doing these thick single rod pieces like this to maybe go one size smaller. So this is the 3/32, and this is the 1/16. So this one's about 1/3 the thickness of that. So make sure I have enough to go down the back of the rib cage, and make sure you have enough left over for a bit of the neck. And then from there, I can grab my little grabbers and bend it backward a little bit and do a nice hoop. Now your hoop for your head, I usually have it facing forward, the little light bulb here. Now, as you're coming around here, if you've got that already kind of started, you can grab any round object that's strong enough. I have an actual measuring piece here, and you can kind of curl that around like that. And after you get a nice curl, you can unbend a little and you get a little bit rounder shape. You don't have to do that, but it's good practice. And again, you get the burr, burr, burr. And here, and I'm just kind of using that roundedness to create some more of that circle. You can keep that up inside there. That maybe helps with grabbing the aluminum wire or whatnot. But I think for the extra, curling it inside the head is fine. Um, However you want to do that bulb, even if you had like a question mark, if you had it short, that works as well. I think that'd be okay. So we'll do that. Then we're going to put it up side the spine here, and we're going to get into using our steel stick. Before I do that, though, let's look at the feet. So I'm going to come over to the side of the feet, and we're going to bend down. And I have my little munch board here. So I have my board. Munch board's what I always make sure I have underneath if I'm going to drill through a piece. So I have this little Jenga. If you find an old Jenga game that's incomplete, that no one uses anymore, these make great little wooden bases if I drill through it. So just in case I go through the back of it, it'll go into the munch board. So these both have holes in there, so I can pin that in there like that. and it's a great little base to have for these armatures. So, okay, so the feet are too long currently, so we grab this and go out here, and at the end where the toe is going to be, the front here, I'll take this and do a nice strong 90-degree bend down. That overbend a little bit and then bring back. Okay, and that up side by side if I need to for a quick to do a quick eyeball on the measurements. Really easy to bring the heels together. Go right there and grab that and bend down 90 degrees. Over bends just ever so slightly and then bend back forward again. There you go. So now what this lets me do by leaving this little extra length in there, I can actually kind of stick this guy in my any armature I'm making, and I can do the craziest, wildest, acrobatic poses I want. Now I don't need that much extra length in there. If it was a really big armature, heavy armature, then sometimes I leave a little extra. But for this one, what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and clip one off completely at the tip of the toe. So I'm going to say, okay, it's only going to be doing the balancing act on one foot. Put that off. There we go. And then for the other one, it just needs enough to go into my Jenga peg, and I didn't drill all the way in, so I'll just leave that little bit there. Come in there and clip this off. You don't have to do this little toe dip piece if you don't want to. You could just have feet. I just wanted to show you how this works, though, in case you want to have a variety and have lots of these little armatures. If you build a bunch of little ones, it'll really prepare you for when you build your your finished character armature. So there we go. And a little advertisement for Jenga. There we go. And you see if you can see if it's off center or not, you can kind of shift it back and forth. Make sure your weight. You want your armature. You want to check your armature's balanced, evenly measured. Don't spin. We goes around very nicely. Okay, let's add the neck on there. Okay, so I got my steel stick out, and I just got a regular old carpenter's knife. You can use an X-Acto blade or any kind of razor blade on this stuff. And I just need enough, and if I have multiples out handy, if I can grab these, got a little head I'm going to use for that one. And we're going to also lock in our pelvis region, and we're going to lock that in. We're going to add the neck as well. So I'm just kind of getting you comfortable with your first use of the epoxy steel stick. Oh yeah, this stuff's nasty. So I got my gloves on, and it's pretty gross stuff. You want enough to have a little mass, a little bead around the chest and around the pelvis. I'm going to do 2 characters. So I'm going to slice this, get through the plastic first. Make sure you remove the little plastic wrap on this stuff. It gets in there, so you can kind of score it first with the razor knife. But you do want to keep it covered when you're not using it. And that might even be more than I needed to use, but oh well. There we go. Oh no, it's about right. So it sets pretty fast, which is great. But just be prepared, right? So I have these two. I'm going to do one character at a time, not get too. I tend to remix a little bit too much or too fast. So I learned to like slow down and just do them in segments a little better. And so I've been getting better at that. So even for this side here, I can cut this one in half. Oh man, this stuff smells bad. Yeah. So there we go. So I know I'm going to use these amounts, right? Usually use a little bit more in the chest region than and before I get to mixing, get all the stuff everywhere and gummy, make sure it's a clean surface. If you have your old packaging boxes, if you need to, work on top of those so you don't get the stuff will adhere. It is called steel stick, right? It's plumber's putty. It's meant to like, you know, semi-permanently / permanently fix your sink leaks and plumber's pipes and things like that. So it's really industrial strength, good strong stuff that you're using for this. And if I have a little bit of extra wire here, looking at this one here as well, so we'll make sure that I have another little lollipop size one here for this guy, and for the lollipop, maybe his spine's a bit shorter, but and he might have a short neck, but maybe he has a bigger head. So I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do. And I'm just gonna use my finger to wrap the question mark on that one. There we go, and then bring it back. Should be fine. Yep, go. Yeah, his head a little bit bigger. I'm down on the dwarfs, orangutan, the old classic Lord of the Rings type dwarves. Short neck. Tools out. And if you needed to, I even could double this one up. It's worried about it being strong enough. And you can always double the neck, even though you're using a thinner wire, and be a bit stronger going down the pelvis on this guy. But since we're not lashing this on, we're just going with a straight resin attachment. You want to make sure that everything's kind of bent straight and easy to attach. You can bend it into shape later. But you can see how my little round area got kind of awkward there. So I can use my steel rounding tool, round this out, but not worry about that for right now. So I'm going to do that one. We'll do the little gecko-ish character as well. So I think we'll have enough for all of these. So let's give it a shot. Okay, so just knead it up until the two sides make a single blended color. Should be pretty obvious as you go. Now, one side gets hard, and you see it's already coming off on my gloves. As one side stiffens up, it's going to stick to the next one as you set. So be fairly quick about this. See how fast this goes. It's a darker gray. There's a bunch of different types of these. I started looking into it. There's water weld and all these, and I lost track where I was in the types. If it says steel stick on it, if it says plumber's putty, usually okay. You just want to make sure that it reads like it finishes to some kind of hard finish. There's ones that like were gummy. It's really odd. And let's do the neck to head first. So what I like to do is split it into two parts, like that, and a little bit, kind of push it through, get it into the spine, into the threads, and then bring a little bit more in between. So kind of stick some in between like that, and then put the pin, making like a little triangle. I think is helpful in the support, and then stick that pin in the back. It's going to be real slippery since it's not twisted, so just be ready for that. There it goes. And you do want to make sure you get it nice and centered. So yeah, I missed a little bit down to the bottom. It's all right. Just pinch it around, and it's going to move around quite a bit. So as you're getting it in there, just kind of, once you get it where you want it, leave it. Don't keep wiggling around. You're going to create channels and gaps. It's going to weaken the actual bond, especially to a untwisted rod. And I do like to get it down inside the threads down here. And there's no sense making a bunch of thin pieces there, so you want to kind of keep it nice and thick. There you go. But you got to move it and get it in just the right position. Bring this down some more. Gets away, it'll push away from it. As you're pushing one side, it'll come up on the other. So just try and put even pressure. With I use 6 fingers or 4 fingers, 2 thumbs simultaneously, kind of push even pressure on this. And should be good to go. I'm going to leave that and stop playing with it. If it's centered okay. Probably off just a tiny bit. Yeah, not too bad. Cool. So it's I could have maybe put more epoxy behind it, and you can always layer it on there. And so get it started. Set it where it's not going to adhere to another surface. So it's like I'm just going to lean Oh, whoops, no, I don't want to lean the head. That my bad. That was dumb. So yeah, just try and leave it like cockeyed, just slightly off the ground. There we go. The next one, you notice I'm leaving the hips, and I'm going to come back to that one. This one might be a bit easier. Let's see. And I feel like I need a bit more for the side. This is a little bit heftier, wider body. I'll just cut a bit more off as I go. And yeah, smells great. Nasty, nasty shit. Telling me. You go, mix, mix, mix. Don't want to get it on your fingers, on your skin. Keep it away, keep it away. And with air again, just like with the limbs, as I attach this lollipop on there, better to have a little bit longer, a little more length than you need sometimes. You can always bend the light bulb shape, the lollipop shape in as you go. So I'll put a little dot of it at the front sternum to kind of help pack these threads. See, it's still mine's still wiggling around a lot. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, see that side, that whole side's wiggling. So we really want to take this bead and press it down where the sternum would be into the threads. So that's going to lock the threads into place so they stop swiveling on me. So once I have that, I'm going to be a little bit more precise this time. I'm going to take these two, maybe take another bead up on the top, tuck it down the middle, bring the little lollipop rods and where I want them, and then press a nice big blob on the back. I can get this the first time and not push and adjust and just slowly press farmer's putty into place. That is a win. See, I see it starting to twist on me. Get it, trying to keep it straight, but I can always straighten it out. That little twist, no problem afterwards. It's just the main thing is it's not like see, it starts tilting left to right. So I want to make sure that tilt's not happening. There we go. That should be pretty good. Tuck. If there's any gaps, so, and you get a few minutes to, you can like wait until it gets a little harder and then press again, but I would not mess with it. I've caused more damage and see how hard this one's getting already. Yeah, bam. Wow. Yep, that's done. That's it, folks. You get a few minutes of fame and it is done and over with. All right, so I'll take this one, I think, for the hip, the little hip piece right here. Again, make sure I don't bump and knock that around while it's stiffening. And you can see the different colors. Like this one's got like a gray one and a white one, and the dark stuff is JB Weld Quick, and it's like, geez, quite a variety I've got over the time. And you can't see like inside epoxy putty or steel stick. You can't really tell what you're going to get inside. So I just kind of settled in on those two brands. Left the water well, the whiter one. I left that alone. I thought one time I got some variant on it that doesn't stiffen all the way. Like it's meant to seal leaks and be used underwater, something that's already wet or submerged, but it never hardens all the way. Although it stays. I'm like, wow, dang, what did I do? So I like totally got the wrong one once, and I had to pick it all out. Gum, those gummy stuff that never hardened up. Sure. Different. So for this one, so you want the spine to bend still. You want these threads here to be able to bend, but you don't want the legs to shift around too much. So I'm really just focused on this little piece here, and I want to leave these threads available. And I might even trim back. Just saying, having a bunch of thin stuff doesn't really help all that much. So take this one, same thing. I'll take two balls, one for the front, one for the back. Make a little donut section on there, and press one, from the front, one from the back. Pinch them together, get a little diaper forming. Push it down so it's not covering too much of the spinal threads, so they're maximum flexibility, and bring that out. And if I have enough, I'll bring it all the way out close to the hip or the actual ball socket of the femur that's in the pelvis. That's not a bad idea. This one, a little triangle. And this doesn't have to be perfect. Whatever's. I'm just kind of thinking out loud all the different times I've done these, different ways and methods that have worked better than others. And there we go. That should settle nicely. This one should already be getting solid now. There it goes. Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't be pinching it while it's still stiffening. I don't know. Let's see. Try not to shape it so much as just kind of press in any cavities that might be in there, any channels that wiggling the rods around may have caused. So kind of leave that. And I got one thing left. I was going to do a little bit on here. I'll do a little bit less since his hips are so wide. I'm not going to bother steel sticking way out there. So I'll take 2 balls and finish this one off. Add this little guy too. Yeah, I guess I'll do that one. That's fine. This one just needs a little bit to keep the shift. It's the twine right here. It's where one's behind the other. That's where it kind of when as you're flexing it, it may change the measurement a little. So as you're posing your character, so you're just trying to lock the rotational axis of the pelvic from unwinding the legs, which causes length. You'll see it happen with your larger when you do like a full, foot tall, 9 to 12 inch tall maquette. Uh, those little unwindings and shifts in the pivot point and measurement really make a huge difference. So, like neurotic, but for a good reason. So there we go. So this should be enough. You can feel it heat up. I can feel it heating up in my fingers right now. So I'm like not panicking, but if I'm trying to do 2 characters at once, I do want to hustle on this a little. Can I get one started? At least get it squished in the threads. Really nice. And then the other one's about the same. I just got to squish it into the threads. I don't really have to. I'm not trying to hold anything together. That's the good part. I'm just trying to get it into the threads. And so it locks. So it's in position. It's not going to move. That one, they're sticking in my gloves. So I was telling you, I'm going to get tacky. The newer stuff's going to really adhere to the older stuff. And it is stiffening up quick. I got to get it in there. Get it in, and it's sticking to my fingers, which is really annoying. So sometimes if it starts getting really tacky and affecting your ability to finish what you're doing, you got to just throw your gloves off real quick and have a fresh pair and have them ready to throw on. So that way, um, if it's grabbing back on your fingers more than as you let go, it will really mess you up. I've learned the hard way. It's okay to go through, disposable gloves, recycle them, whatevs. But yeah, get a box, a little pack of disposable gloves, and that way you don't have to worry about not using another pair because you're trying to save a few pennies. It's not worth it. There we go. Okay, yeah. Ooh. Tacky, 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 tacky. Cool. All right. This is how we attach those. And to finish these off, we're going to go through some of the thinner wire, and we'll add a little bit onto the hands and whatnot. And I better take off gloves before I start doing that. Okay, we'll get to the extension hands and fingers here in just a moment, but just to kind of show you how nice this little piece is to pose. Try not to bend or mess with this for give it a good hour to set all the way, and then you can go in there. And so it's still, even though it's hard, I can still feel the heat. It's still doing its chemical reaction there. But yeah, if you get your little scrap wooden blocks, you have pretty happy with this little guy. Actually, there's a lot I can do. Experiment and play around with this. So this will probably be sitting on my desk for who knows, next 5 or 10 or what years. So I'll like put them in the put them on the row with all the posable little action figures or critters or ideas that you're conceptualizing. So these ones are still, if they're tacky at all, don't mess with them. Don't mess with them. Like, that one's still sticking to the board a little. So sometimes I may or may not have mixed them as well. Yeah, this was the last one, and I still wanted to add a little bit onto that one. So we'll set those aside, and I'll let them cure a bit more, and I'll come back.